You might already know that if the police knock and you didn't call them, you don't have to answer the door. But what if somebody else answers the door? And what if they let the police inside your house? This is a problem. You need to get the police out of your house as fast as possible before they see something that they think is evidence of some crime and escalate the situation. But let's back up and start with the police coming to your door in the first place.
Howdy, it's Officer Andy with the local police department. Is anyone home?
Rule number 1 of your castle and the police. If the police knock on your door and you or your family didn't call for help, you don't even need to answer the door.
Police, we have a search warrant. Open up.
So this is the exception to rule number 1. If the police have an actual warrant to search your home or an arrest warrant to arrest someone who they know is inside your home, they can use force to gain entry into your home. You still don't have to open the door in this situation, but if you don't, you're likely going to have to buy yourself a new front door on top of whatever reason the police are already there with a warrant. But for today's video, we're assuming the police have no warrant of any kind.
Howdy, it's Officer Andy with the local police department. Is anyone home? What can I do for you?
Howdy, sir. Can I come in to speak with you?
Sure, Officer Andy. What could possibly go wrong if I let a guy with a gun, taser, and handcuffs into my living room? Come on in.
I'm just here about your car that we found wrecked out there on the highway.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that.
Have you been drinking today?
Let's break this down. As I mentioned before, mistake number 1 was answering the door in the first place. And I know what you're thinking. What if something's happened in the neighborhood and the officer is just coming by to see if I heard something or saw something and maybe I could help out a neighbor? There's 2 problems with this. First, the police are suspicious of everyone. So while you may be innocent and have nothing to do with whatever crime may have taken place, the police officer doesn't know that. They're constantly throwing out bait and fishing to see if somebody's going to bite and give them incriminating evidence against themselves. If you don't answer the door, that person can't be you. And second, the police aren't just listening, they're also looking. If you crack open your door to talk to the officer and they peer inside and see some type of evidence of illegal activity, that could be enough for them to go get a search warrant and come back to your house and search your home. If you'd like to be a good citizen and help the police solve a crime, the odds are they'll leave a note or business card tucked into your door. Then you can call your attorney to decide what to do next. Or these days, a lot of neighborhoods have a Facebook group or Nextdoor group where somebody might post asking for information about some crime or situation that took place, and then you can decide if you want to help provide information to the police, perhaps sharing video footage you may have, or information that could help the police solve the crime. Now, how do you handle mistake number 2? The problem with letting the officer into your home is a dumber version of mistake number 1. Now the officer can see a lot more because he's inside your home, and this lets him be even more intrusive with his questioning. Which leads us to mistake number 3, talking to the police.
I'm just here about your car that we found wrecked out there on the highway.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that.
Have you been drinking today?
At this point, it's abundantly clear that Officer Andy suspects you of committing a crime. There's no question why he's there in your living room. But what can you do at this point? Ask him to leave. It's plain and simple. The law may vary depending upon your state and the exact reasons why Officer Andy came to your house. But if he is only inside your house as an invited guest, you have the right to uninvite him and ask him to leave. But what happens if Officer Andy refuses to leave? Change your invitation to a direct command and invoke your rights.
Leave my property now. I invoke my right to remain silent and I want a lawyer.
That's about the clearest and most concise way I can think of to tell Officer Andy that he is not welcome in your home and you are done talking with him. If he still won't leave and doesn't have another legal reason to be there, he's technically become a trespasser. However, things get dicey at this point. None of this is legal advice, but Virginia law does allow you to use reasonable force to expel a trespasser from your property. You have to first give them clear notice to leave and ample opportunity to do so. Other states may have similar laws. But using any kind of force against Officer Andy is a recipe for disaster. Remember, he's got a taser, gun, handcuffs, and probably backup officers with him. Even touching his shoulder, arm, or back to try to usher him to the front door is a really bad idea and could end up getting you charged with assault on a law enforcement officer. Instead, I advocate shutting up, sitting down and filming the rest of the encounter. Especially if the cops believe that you're under the influence of alcohol or drugs, the last thing you want to be doing is walking around talking and giving them more opportunity to claim that they saw clues of impairment from your behavior. But what if they up the ante?
Come step outside with me for some field sobriety tests.
Do you have to go outside with Officer Andy? In Virginia, no. Physical field sobriety tests are 100% voluntary in Virginia and every other state as far as I know. You can always refuse physical tests such as walking the line, standing on one leg, etc. These tests are solely used for the police to determine if they have probable cause to arrest you for being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. They are hard to do perfectly, even if you're stone cold sober. And especially if you factor in that you're nervous and worried about what the police are about to do, you should always refuse the physical tests. And since you are also inside your own home, your castle, you should not comply with the officer's request to step outside. I hate to keep saying it, but it could vary based on your state. But in Virginia, the officer cannot order you to step outside your home unless you're actually in his custody. Inside your home, the cops normally need an arrest warrant to arrest you. But if you comply with his friendly request to step outside and do some tests, now you no longer have the protection of your castle, and the officer does not necessarily need an arrest warrant to place you under arrest. This is one reason the police often try to get you to come outside with them so they can more easily place you under arrest. If the officer believes he has legal authority to arrest you inside your home, he may do so, at which point if he utters the words saying you're under arrest, you do need to comply or you could be charged with resisting arrest. If he doesn't in fact have the legal authority to be arresting you at that time, you can definitely fight about it later on with your lawyer. But what if the police decide to try to force their way into your home by sticking their foot in your front door? I made a whole video about exactly that situation and you can check it out here. And remember, don't talk to the police.